What's up, everyone? Drew, Sherb, Hunter, bringing you a special edition Misfit podcast. If you are here for the Misfit Project, if you are here for Unprepared, you're not going to hear it. This is the Open Cycle podcast. This is programming specific. We like to think it's interesting. There are a few thousand people out there that also think it's interesting, but that's your fair warning. All right, so before we get started, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Sharpen the Axe. Use the code MISFITOPEN to save 15% off. We're always giving you that 10% code. We're going to give you 15% off, but it lasts 1 week, and I get a DM every single time, the 8th day. Why isn't this code working? It's going to last 1 week. I'm probably going to give you the code again anyways, or 15% off. That's not the point. We got the new Suffer stuff coming out. Hopefully there's some left, but the way that that's gone in the past,
good luck.
There may or may not be, even when this podcast airs. We've got some Misfit muscle tanks, and we have a lot of crazy shit in the works. So 1 week, Misfit Open, sharpentheaxeco.com. We also have what I consider, after we started programming together, and that's just when I started to notice things because I was more involved, some fucking fantastic affiliate programming, some stuff that we really put a lot of work into. And I say I get to take some credit when it's really just these two kicking ass and doing a lot of work. So tell me about it, sir.
Yeah, teammisfit.com for all of your coaching, programming stuff. We've got tons of free content out there, articles, blog posts, programs for members to use, and just recently released a couple of podcasts. We've got one available now through the Misfit Athletics channel. We'll have one dropping pretty shortly here, but we're trying to just kind of produce more stuff for the coaching. We know a lot of you guys, a lot of you Misfits are either coaches owning a gym, doing it part-time to feed yourself while you're trying to qualify for a Sanctional or the games, whatever, but a lot of content out there to try and make you better. And, of course, our affiliate programming. October just dropped a couple days ago, so that's available for you subscribers. If you want a couple free weeks, head over to teammisfit.com, shoot us an email. We'll send them to you free of charge, no credit card required, whatever. I'll probably respond to you. It'll be terrific.
Well, I'd say one thing I'd add to that, guys, just one thing. If you have topics you'd like discussed on that podcast, we're always getting messages, but keep them coming. The more messages we get about topics you want covered in that podcast, I love to nerd out in the affiliate stuff. I know Hunter does too. Sure, we can get Drew in here maybe once or twice on that podcast. Maybe. But we'd love to, answer whatever questions you guys have out there. So don't be afraid to shoot some into our DM, slide into the Team Misfit Gym's Instagram account, shoot us a message.
Yeah, because nobody knows you guys' Instagram handles.
Booyah, now you do.
What?
No,
I meant you two.
Oh, mine? Yeah, no one knows that.
Don't follow.
What's the follow there?
Team Misfit Gyms is a great account.
Hell yeah.
It is.
You two, we'll see. All right, so
I wouldn't follow me.
Open Cycle 2019.20. We don't really know what to call it. We do know that your season is starting very, very, very early this year. So one thing that's important about this podcast, yes, we can go through and tell you Mondays we're snatching and Wednesdays you have this and that, and that's important. It's good for you guys to know what's coming up, but also just the narrative of this whole season and all these changes, I think, is important. What we've changed this year is we are starting the Open Cycle 1 week early because we love the idea of the comfort of a new schedule and sort of visualizing and starting to get habits and routines put into place where you can really feel good about that first week of the Open. So we are starting this cycle right now so that we can make sure that that first week mimics the first week of the Open. And we actually have, our version of an Open workout. We actually tried to make it our version of the Open workout, but also one that probably won't come up. We don't want to create the PTSD of that. And we definitely didn't want it to be, just based on previous history, there's no way this is week 1. We'll put it that way, right?
I wouldn't think so.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. So you can probably guess what some of the movements are if it's not going to be week 1. So we have the Open Cycle, and we got this huge bone thrown to us based on this cycle from all the sanctionals that said that this leaderboard in the Open is also a sanctional leaderboard. We had issues in the past with, do I care about the Open? And then now moving forward, it's even crazier. Do I care about the Open? Are my scores as important as they were in the past? what does this mean to me moving forward? What does it mean to me to just be off the CrossFit Games and go straight in the Open? Whatever these questions are, the Open matters for everyone.
Yeah, aside from the obvious, the direct qualification process, you've got the opportunity to qualify for another Sanctional. And like we saw last year, you do not have to win a Sanctional to qualify for the CrossFit Games through a Sanctional. So
right.
the Open to me is just another opportunity to throw your name out there. And yeah, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, but if you're good, you get that opportunity. Maybe you qualify for a kind of a mid-level Sanctional or something like that, but workouts play out in your favor and you're going to the CrossFit Games. Like it's not it.
And there's no reason why they can't say, okay, top 100 can come if they want. There's no reason why they can't say 300 is the RX. This is, masters is this, teens are this, whatever it is. Like, we don't know exactly how that's all going to work. And then, like, you get a litmus test. You get to test yourself against all these other people. So we have written a cycle to make sure that you maximize your potential during the Open. And as the sport progresses, that does mean a little bit more volume sometimes. It does mean manipulating different energy systems sometimes. The people that we know that worked hard on their aerobic system last year did great in the first workout. I mean, there are some caveats to that. If someone was super small, that could be a little bit of an issue. So we have a plan in place based on everyone cares about the Open. Right?
I mean, the way I feel about the Open too is that it is the best opportunity you're going to have literally all year. It's the one with the most amount of spots available to men and women to qualify as individual to CrossFit Games. Don't get me wrong, there are still opportunities in Sanctionals, but this is the only competition that we know of that gives spots 1 through 20 as a ticket to the CrossFit Games. So you can't minimize that.
I don't understand why somebody who is listening to this podcast, who probably beats the snot out of themselves every day, like we watch people at our gym do, and are just like, I don't think I'm gonna do the Open. Like, shut the fuck up. Sign up for the Open.
They're not
like throw down. Like,
some people aren't aware that they're not willing to be vulnerable.
Yeah,
you put your hat in the ring and you say, I'm gonna give this everything I got and be done with it. And we've seen people go 4 weeks putting their hat in the ring, and then when it's time to retest week 5, they don't even care that they're going to manipulate their spot by 30 to 70 places. Like, they give up at that point. So there's a lot of it where it's just like, hey, this is really hard, and no one's going to fault you for training hard all year and then going out and giving it hell in the Open. Like,
I mean, the way I look at that too, you have an athlete who's been willing to put themselves out there and do maybe workouts they're not ready for, or combinations of movements they've never done before, and they look at a piece in the blog and go, I don't know if I can do that, or finish in the time cap, but you still do it anyways. That you are vulnerable almost daily in training. You just have to take that same mindset. Like, I'm going to give it hell and see what happens, with something that is hyped a little bit more because it's put on games.crossfit.com. But essentially, it's the exact same thing as going into the gym on Tuesday and saying, hey, there's 245 snatches and pegboard in this workout. I don't know if I can do those. Well, the only way to find out is by putting your hat in the ring.
It's true.
Yep.
Okay, so we can dig into the nitty gritty a little bit here. I have been receiving, before I do that, I have been receiving some messages about the Sanctional prep. And the Sanctional prep itself is not remote coaching. The Sanctional prep is a program that you can follow to try and peak at a specific point. Because what we cannot do is write the blog and then say, hey, wait 3 weeks to do it.
Yeah.
And then you'll time this properly. So it's essentially us taking what we think makes the most sense for the Sanctionals and putting into this package. And we are going to be updating those. There'll be new ones coming out. But, there's a huge part of me that doesn't think someone should be following this until we get out of the Open. Like, unless you qualified through some means last year, or you qualified through an online qualifier, then maybe I don't mean that. Maybe you should start. But we're talking about, 5 to 10 people or something that would be starting this during the Open.
There are only a couple of Sanctionals that it makes sense to start preparing for, like, during the Open.
Right.
And again, that, like, kind of we were talking about before, that means you are somebody who, it's not that you don't care about the Open, but you have a very specific reason for doing that kind of prep program in lieu of the Open cycle or doing the Open.
Right.
So it'll work, but if you're going to try to do both at the same time, you're going to die.
Right.
Yeah, best of luck. Nice
That
knowing
is
you.
absolutely true. All right. So open schedule. How does this work? If you're new to Misfit Athletics, you're new to the cycle, welcome. We switched the rest days up. So we have Monday, Tuesday, sort of a rest day. And sure, we'll get into that.
Sure
Then we train
Monday,
to
Tuesday, normal training, then a rest day. Yeah, you made it sound like Monday and Tuesday are rest days.
No. Train on Monday, train on Tuesday, sort of a rest day on Wednesday.
Okay.
Thursday is a priming day. So you sort of get a rest day between the two put together in terms of CNS demand and what you would normally have.
Right.
Friday, we're tackling the open workout. You have to. Like, you have to do it on Friday, and there's a pretty good chance you're going to have to do it on Sunday and or Monday.
Yep.
It just is what it is. Like, wearing one and done as a badge of honor is boring. It doesn't matter. So when we go through these things, we're just going to talk a little bit about what the scheduling looks like. We are going to continue to lift 4 days a week. What's going to change in the style of the lifting is we are now only going to do movements that we think we might see. The mandatory lifts are only movements that we think we might see during the open. Okay. We know how to get people stronger. That information has been out there on the internet since who knows how long.
The 1800s, I think.
And we've had 7 years of testing on what we think goes where and what works for CrossFitters. So we have squat snatch, we have squat clean, we have front squats, we have clean and jerks, we have power snatch, we have push jerks. All of these things pop up. To get into the nitty gritty is going to be a lot of triples within the snatch because we've found that that's what makes you better. Getting better at actually snatching as opposed to putting too much weight on the bar and hoping you can snatch
Please.
really helps. And then the clean gets a little bit of a tweak. We like the weight to be percentage wise just a touch heavier, or at least go to those doubles instead of the triples. That's what we've found works if we're trying to either get stronger or maintain during a period of time. We're moving to front squats. We still have a very similar outlook on the front squat that I guess it's kind of like the snatch of the squatting world. You need to get better at it. You need to move through better positions. You need to get comfortable with it. So you get to do sets of 6.
You need to be
See,
more
I thought you
mobile.
just changed your whole philosophy. You were just, I'm done with back squats now, and now I'm front squat guy.
You should see phase 1.
Yikes.
Don't be scared. It's okay. So we go through this stuff, and the caveat in here is just that power clean and jerk or the power snatch is on that primer day. We're trying to make sure that we're like moving the barbell moderately heavy, lightning fast. Everything's perfect. So if we go to do that same movement the next day, there's something that's been wired and sort of like a precursor to I have to attack this movement the following day. Push jerk is kind of similar to front squat. You got to do more reps and heavier weight to make sure that you're able to do repeatable sets within conditioning. It's not the greatest. You do like doubles and triples to get yourself your single better. That's going to be a little bit more along the lines of get your legs stronger, get your pressing stronger, and then you can go there. But sports specific training, like once we get down to it, you have to do the actual movement.
Yep.
So this is the time of year where we're going to take stuff like front squat, stuff like push jerk, and make you do sets of 6, which sounds super fun. I know everyone's very excited.
Woo! Sorry.
Hunter's going to talk a little bit about the Metcons, the intervals, the bitch work. A lot of it's more about the schedule of it, because at the end of the day, we don't know what to say other than you're going to be doing the things.
And I do want to say that this applies to all of our followers. So whether you follow MFT, Hatchet, or the age group program, the open cycle in particular pertains to everybody.
There are still different programs, but these concepts are similar.
Yep, the concepts are similar. The programs will look similar between MFT and Hatchet, and there's a little bit more carryover in the age group program this cycle than in previous cycles. But what you guys will see, like Drew said, you've got Monday, Tuesday as your normal training day. You can expect your pretty standard Metcon and interval pieces on those days. Wednesday is your flush day. Thursday is kind of where Drew talked about that primer day. So you've got a very light percentage-based lift, and then the conditioning piece is really meant to just be done. It's still high intensity, it's still fast, but it's nothing that's going to beat the snot out of you and make you like wake up on Friday morning like you just
I like to call it a merry-go-round workout.
Yep.
Where you're just like right before it's about to get shitty, you get to go to the next movement.
Yep. And you just get to go around in a circle, feel good, breathe hard, and then follow it up with a flush, 20, 40 minutes on a bike or whatever, and then some mobility. Friday, week 1, like we talked about, is going to be your kind of open prep workout, something that it looks like an open-ish workout. So tackle that. We're basically asking you guys to go through your warm-up, a standard warm-up, get yourself loose, like totally loose like you're about to do the workout, then hit that primer that is going to be a nasty, like short sprint. Again, nothing that's going to smoke you. We're not going to ask you to do 100 front squats or 100 thrusters, but get your heart rate up, let it settle back down, and then tackle the Metcon itself. On those days, and this will go throughout the entire open on that Friday, you'll have your post-workout flush and then a longer, typically monostructural element, whether it's running, rowing, C2 bike. We got to keep training. And the longer aerobic, I think complements the intensity of the open workout nicely. By nature, it's longer, so it has to be a little bit lower intensity. Serves multiple purposes, getting fitter, flushing a little bit, and we're still keeping the training volume at what you're used to. Obviously, we don't want to get out of shape during the open. And then Saturday, another similar to I kind of liken Tuesdays and Saturdays as similar days.
You get to really train.
They're your like actual traditional training days. Obviously, if you're somebody who wasn't able to do the open workout on Friday, needs to Saturday, that's kind of on you. We do have the open template, kind of like the flow chart for like, if this happened, then I need to do this. But Tuesday's your pretty standard training day.
And Monday's a good training day too, but we know what happens.
Right.
Like Mondays during the open. We wrote you some good stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how many you're going to do it.
So
we hope a lot.
Week 1, Monday is easy because there's no open workout that previous week. But what I will say about those Mondays is, like I said, you'll have kind of that flow chart that we provide you. Like, if I'm retesting, do this. But once you finish that open workout, you probably need to do another training piece. If you're somebody who's like following the blog like we write it, then your training day is not over. You finish the open workout. Hopefully you gave it hell. You do a little post-workout flush, and then you've probably got another training piece to do. Because again, like we said, we're not getting out of shape during the open. That week is now effectively over. So keep training like you normally would. Tuesday, normal training day, and then we're back.
Yep.
Back on schedule.
Right. So one of the things that happens internally here is we test different ideas. We go down different paths as coaches, especially when it comes to remote coaching. We're trying to manipulate something specific with an athlete, and we don't want to give them a general prescription because, they're paying for our expertise. And at a certain point, if every single coach is giving out a certain thing, whether it's an accessory program, a mobility program, a cardio program, it's on us to then put it in the sheet, right?
Yep.
It's on us as coaches. So for the very first time, we've been running our mouths, or as Hunter likes to say, running our sucks.
Sounds
weird
plural.
when you pluralize it, right?
Plural.
Running my suck.
Suck.
About fasted cardio.
Running's my suck.
Sherb is going to talk about it. It is officially on the blog, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Can I make one comment about the Metcon on Friday first?
I think you can say whatever the hell you
want.
want.
The open test, right, guys? You have one opportunity before we get into the actual open workouts that first week.
The week 1.
Correct. That week 1 Friday Metcon.
MFT 1816, October 4th.
You guys should practice setting that up the exact same way you would your first open workout. That means filming it, setting it up. If you can get someone to judge you, if you get a friend that you train with that's willing to judge you, do all those things, hold yourself to that standard so that when week 1 comes around, you're not upset that you don't have enough memory on your camera or your phone or whatever you're, recording it on. You haven't practiced your setup. You don't have those things already taken care of. Like, get in the practice habit of that. I think you sort of touched on it, but like we've said it years past.
No, I didn't.
Do not neglect that factor because we have so many athletes like, yeah, I crushed it, but we're on in-play mode and my video cut out halfway through. Like, don't be that person. Like,
do I need to ask for permission to speak?
Permission granted.
Thank you, sir. Also, test your vulnerability at that point. You tell your friends what you got for a score. You talk shit to someone that you know you're going to lose to, and then you try to get as close to them as you possibly can.
Do
this open workout, how you need to do these other things to get yourself comfortable with the fact that you are going to be comparing yourself to everyone. So try to compare yourself, try to put yourself out there and say, you know what, it's going in my Instagram story, what I get on this workout. And I don't even know what other people are going to get. I haven't even asked yet. I'm just going to put it out there and see what happens. Try to treat this like a test type thing so that when the first one comes around, you're like, well, I got one under the belt, because normally the first one's the one that really screws people up.
Yep.
So moving on to the flushing and the fasted cardio, you're looking at a schedule of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And the way I like to think of the fasted cardio and the flushing is, a lot of athletes put a lot of focus into their training, their mobility. They get the floss bands, the stuff from K-Star. But what they don't do is they don't put the extra effort in after they're done working out to make sure they're ready to work out the next day again. So one thing you're going to see on Thursdays and Fridays are going to be these longer flushes. And the idea here is you stay to yourself, you get in that headspace. If you haven't listened to the Misfit Project Mental Diet podcast, will be coming out soon, probably be already out at this point, that you're thinking about attacking the workout, what you need to prioritize to make sure that you are ready to crush the workout when it comes up on Friday. So again, you're looking at 30 to 50 minutes on Thursday as part of your training. It's the last thing you're going to do. Keep to yourself. It's not meant to be super strenuous. It is mandatory. Alone time. It is mandatory though.
Sounds suggested. It's not.
Then again, on Friday, you've done the open workout. You've really put it out there. You've crushed yourself. Again, this is the opportunity to execute the most amount of intensity you're going to have year round. That's going to do a lot to your body in a way of putting you behind the 8 ball. So you need to spend some time flushing so that you can recoup and then hopefully get a good training day on Saturday, because what can happen, again, we've talked about many years, people can fall out of shape because they hit the open workout and then spend the rest of the week going like, I got to recover and recharge, so I'm ready for next Friday. Make sure you do that flush so that you're ready for Saturday's training. Now, backtracking to Wednesday and this fasted cardio.
Can we briefly just define flush for people who might not be?
Yes.
Might be
so I'm looking for an athlete to be in that comfortable, I can have a conversation zone of talking if I wanted to. Again, we're trying to get people to have alone time and be on their own, but you shouldn't be going at a pace that's so vigorous that you can't talk. Like if I asked you a question, you were doing your flush and you couldn't talk to me because you're out of breath, like you're going too hard. Keep it moving, whatever is a sustainable RPM or, wattage or whatever machine you're using for those 20 to 40 minutes or 30 to 50 minutes that you're able to stay moving without
Part of you, though, is
change.
giving permission to the crazies to add another training piece. That's not what this is.
No.
It should be easy.
Yeah, if you're trying too much, you're trying too much.
Flip the monitor up or something.
It's not a bad idea. Like honestly, if you're talking about the workout and you're talking about, Drew said, putting yourself out there post workout and talking shit and kind of about strategies, talk to a friend that you did the open workout with and use that period as a way of keeping the intensity low. Because if you're having a conversation, you're not going to be going super hard. Yeah. It's a great way to do that. But now going on to the fasted cardio. This is something that, like Drew said, we've been putting in practice with our athletes. We've seen a lot of success, specifically some of those longer pieces. Athletes are like, oh, I'm able to stay moving longer than I ever could. And I thought I didn't have this ability to go, past the 20-minute AMRAP time domain. So really what we're looking to do is a linear progression where you get comfortable on a machine, right? We're starting with the rower, but this could be applied to a skier, could be applied to the bike or the assault bike's okay. It's not great. You have to try a little bit harder in the assault bike to not go into that anaerobic state, but you're looking to go at a 20-minute clip at what's called an effort pace, where you're trying. You're not looking to send it. You're not saying, can I row 2,500 meters or 5,500 meters in this certain amount of time? You're just trying. And the idea is through each week going a little bit longer, not only are you going to be able to try to match your pace week to week, but you're going to desensitize yourself to these longer pieces and teach your body how to flush waste, which is something we talk about all the time. How can you recover while you move? Well, if you can treat your body to do these pieces and flush while they work, all of a sudden you're able to create energy in your body without asking it to, complete stop and not be able to move. And from personal experience, I see that, time domains that I used to find troubling for me, which is usually beyond 12 minutes, all of a sudden not that big a deal anymore. I'm able to stay moving for longer. So really what we're trying to do is to get you comfortable with this style of training. And what's unique about this, and something we haven't even touched on yet, is that it's fasted if you can help it. Like you want to be doing this on an empty stomach, ideally probably in the first half of your day, because most of you probably want food after 7 a.m. But try to do this fasted so you're not putting food in your stomach. And the idea is you're trying to create maybe a little bit of metabolic flexibility, which teaches your body, again, how to use the fat on your body to energize your training. So kind of like a 7-headed beast here, but it's a way of adapting yourself in this aerobic time domain, which is we find a lot of athletes really struggle with, something they're really missing in their game. They're either good weightlifters, good gymnastics, but they don't have a great aerobic background. This is how we build it.
True.
Anything to add, boys?
No.
Word.
Yeah, I mean, it's we're adding 5 minutes a week. We're asking you to maintain the same pace. So if you if you do your 5K pace for your first one, and then at the end you have to go for 40 to whatever minutes, probably not going to happen. So just know that it's sort of one of those things where, like, if in test week you did a heave and pray on your snatch and then you have to do triples, like, it's not the easiest thing in the world.
No.
Know that that's coming.
And
Each week it's an extra 5 minutes. Yep. We're going all the way from 20 up. You can
and
do
the fasted cardio is on your Wednesday flush day. That is your flush.
So there's 6 days of programming.
Yep.
And if you add an open retest in there, there could be 7.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Please.
We have one of the things that we really believe in here, and it's been the case, since we started, is this idea of variance. Obviously, we try as hard as we can to create variance within the programming, but also within what the program can mean to you. And the way that we do that in the during the open is adding an optional extra. And we've called it different things, games optional,
Regional
now it could be
extra.
sanctionals, who knows. It's whether or not it fits in your training, you specifically, the person that's listening to this podcast. There are games athletes that won't do certain things on certain days, and there are people who are aspiring to be a games athlete that should, for instance, deadlift on Mondays. That's fine. So it's an optional piece based on whether it fits into your training, whether your CNS is primed on a Friday to crush an open workout and maintain this thing. We've tried so hard for so many years now to say, please don't stop training during the open. That the best Metcon that we've ever had falls in the midst of chaos. It's this really nasty cycle that we're in, and just this random Wednesday, I'm kicking ass. Like, that's because you're training and you're in it and you're in that mode and your body's ready and your mind is ready. You've been training for it. So you can you can go backwards during the open, and you can be the type of person who could qualify for the games weeks 1 through 3, and then you can tank. And we've seen it before, and it's sad to see. So please keep training. So within that extra, you've got 2 days a week where it's going to be a lift. Very standard deadlift and back squat sets. The back squat sets are unique in that we are giving you permission to add weight on some of the sets, but not explicitly saying it. And that's going to be paying attention to your central nervous system once again. What did this week do to me? What's the stress doing to me? What are these open workouts doing to me? And, am I going to stay at 75, 80%, or am I going to slap some 5s on or some 10s on and push myself a little bit and try to make more of an adaptation? When we get into the deadlift, the one thing that's probably a little bit different than what we've done in the past, something from my baseball days, is you always end on a good set. So we have kind of a standard climb percentage, get yourself to a point where you need to be. And then we have one where we go back down to 70% to finish, and it's perfect. So we're telling our body we're getting stronger. We're making these adaptations. We also give a shit about the way that we move.
Let's tidy this thing up a little bit at the end.
Exactly. The 2 other days you've got, I don't want to say that it's just standard Metcons because it kind of moves around. There is a little bit more skill to it, but it wouldn't be very hard to figure out what that scale would be. I'm looking at week 1, and you've got muscle ups and GHD sit ups. We're trying to do a pulling gymnastics and a hip closing, which added together suck, by the way. Get ready for that.
Enjoy.
And then we have the other day where you have the monostructural that Hunter talked about in the extra on the day of the open workout. A lot of people are going to want to skip this. And I actually think that there's something to allowing yourself to go back into your body and out of your stressed brain and open mind and getting back to work in that same day. I really think that long, slow, I want to say slow, it's not that slow. There's some intensity in there. But we're going into some monostructural stuff, and we're making sure that we practice what we preach. So we're asking you guys all the time to take note of your times and your splits and your pacing, and you need to remember this and you need to remember that. We're just going to start making it mandatory more often. We're going to start forcing your hand at figuring out, I do know what my mile pacing is. I do know how long it takes me to ski at, I can hold this or I can hold that. Like, we're going to start making that mandatory because you guys have this incredible intuition out in the CrossFit gym. It doesn't always carry over to monostructural. In fact, sometimes it hurts the monostructural. You run your 3-minute 800 at the beginning of a 10K and you don't feel like it's anything because you're an anaerobic monster. And then the other, 9+ K comes at you.
Yeah, we want you to know your running, rowing, skiing, all those bitch work pieces,
yes.
Like splits the same way you would know all your percentage for your snatch and your clean and jerk. And I feel like a lot of athletes pour their heart into that type of stuff, but then just be like, I think I have a 6-minute mile and that's how I'm going to figure this out without actually knowing or not testing it enough to have like accurate notes on that. And one thing we've talked about in the past, some of our athletes, our best athletes know their 12 rep hang dumbbell snatch weight.
It's hilarious.
Like, it's crazy.
12 rep hang dumbbell snatch.
I'm not kidding. It's crazy. They're like, I know exactly what I can do for 17 reps inside of, it'll take me 31.2 seconds and then I can do this and that. It's
recall of Metcon 12 years ago. Yeah, I went 6.52 on my toes to bar. It's like, what the hell?
How do you know that
is happening right now? But those are the people. It's we try to draw those lines of commonality between these high level athletes, and it's all of them. It's every single one of them. They remember these things and they're able to do
shit,
these
right?
things.
That's the secret, that they give a level of care that's a little bit above and beyond the average person when they train.
Their obsession is very real.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's kind of the gist of the open cycle. We have 4 days a week of lifting. We have obviously 5 Metcons in there. We've got 3 intervals. We've got that fasted cardio added in, and then we have those extras that we just talked about. We obviously, for most of you that know this, we have the open cycle, but we have the Hatchet open cycle, and then we have the Masters and Teens open cycle. Hunter, what, if anything, is different about the specifics? We know the philosophy is the same. We're trying to tackle the same problems, but...
Yeah, I think really the only difference between MFT and Hatchet is just the number of mandatory pieces. There aren't any, like you're used to the rest of the year, there aren't any options within the Hatchet program, but what we did do is make sure that you guys are getting the same lifts on a weekly basis so that doesn't rotate, kind of like we did with the Cycle 3, and then you've obviously got the time caps in there as well, but as a whole, there isn't a lot different. We're still asking you guys to do fasted cardio. I think it's something that if you're a Hatchet type of athlete, that tells me training isn't your whole life, and just having doing something a little bit different like that, you may find really benefits you both in and outside of the gym.
Right.
So we're still going to ask you to flush after the workouts and all that stuff. And then with the age division program, you've got a little bit more, you've got a few more options. I've built in kind of the standard pick 1 or 2, usually pretty much every cycle. It should be pretty obvious what you're going to pick. It's either going to be the deadlifting that you were talking about in MFT, or it's a Metcon that you need to build on. So you'll still get plenty of conditioning, and also the maintenance work that's unique to the age group program. That'll still absolutely be in there. And then the last kind of difference, or not really difference this cycle, it's actually more of a similarity, is that I tried to build in the Misfit WOD into the Masters and age group program as well.
Right.
So a lot of the times it'll look either the same as Hatchet or the same as the blog, but just trying to kind of tie that the age division community in as well, because previously it's been a whole completely separate program, and there are still a lot of different needs that demographic requires, but there's no reason people can't power snatch and burpee together on this day. Oh yeah, they're doing it.
Yeah, that's
such a terrible workout.
It is.
Joy.
You guys, the very first workout, the very first Misfit WOD of the open cycle is a workout that's near and dear to my heart. And I say heart because there is no doubt in my mind that the first time I did this workout, that's the highest heart rate I've ever had in my life. I did it with Cody, and Cody decided to do 17 or 18 of the snatches unbroken in the first round. And although his time was about half of mine, he was just as fucked up as I was. So you have a very special power snatch burpee workout coming out.
I do actually want to say one more thing about the Misfit WOD. It might just be because of the open cycle. It might have just been how this cycle was written, but there are a good chunk of Misfit WODs in both MFT and Hatchet that are exactly the same. When I went through and kind of plugged in Hatchet, I was like, like people are going to get less rounds than the Travises, the Kenzies in this workout, but we don't necessarily need to scale the barbell weight or the numbers
At this point in the year, our sport is our sport.
Yeah.
And
so
the weights change a little bit. They a lot of times come down, and then it's about like, woof, especially for the higher level athletes, like I'm gonna die because this is easier.
So I think
easier
it
is
just
always in air quotes.
makes sense for to keep everybody as close as possible.
Of course,
Hatchet folks get the opportunity to kind of maybe throw down, see like exactly like rep for rep how close or how far you are from those high level athletes, but try to keep Misfit WOD scaled when necessary, but not when not needed.
Right. The last thing that I will say about the fasted cardio, and I hesitate to say this, but if it doesn't fit into your schedule to do this fasted, please still do it. We really want it fasted. I have pulled some games athletes kicking and screaming into random gyms to find C2 bikes and all that to do it fasted. It is a change to try to find that into your schedule, but say you're a Hatchet athlete, there's just no way this is going to happen. And we really do want it to be the rower because the rower is sort of the open machine. Still do it. Like don't skip your fasted cardio because on a random Wednesday, you just can't make that fasted part happen. Try as hard as you can, but
maybe it would help is what would you define as like fasted? More specifically, like duration. Is it like 6 hours? Is it like 12 hours? Is it 3 hours?
You're not going to find a common scenario where someone's going to be able to do fasted cardio like in the evening.
Right.
That's going to be a pretty big challenge. The people that like to do the circadian fasting, which is someone that eats breakfast and then stops sooner, that's kind of the unique scenario. I would still probably ask them to, row at whatever, 6, 7 a.m.
Yeah.
You're still going to get way more benefit out of that because the longer you go, the more you start to manipulate your energy systems. Right. And then if people have no idea what we're talking about, you can have coffee and you can have water and you can't have anything in your coffee. Absolutely nothing. Yep. Not even a hazelnut spritz. Sugar-free.
You can't put a Snickers bar in it?
You cannot put a Snickers bar in it.
Just checking. Just make sure.
All right. If it melts in my coffee?
Does it still count? It's melted. Is it even really there?
No longer a Snickers bar. It's
Sherp's always asking. Sherp's always trying to get out of those tricks. Snickers coffee. All right. On that note, you have just listened to the Open Cycle, who knows, 2019/20 podcast brought to you by Sharpen the Axe. Use the code MisfitOpen to receive 15% off at sharpentheaxeco.com. We will be back with your regularly scheduled Unprepared Misfit Project or Team Misfit podcast very soon. Good luck.
Peace.